All right, guys, so what I'm gonna do first, I'm just gonna run through the pitch deck. And when I complete that, I'll basically open it up for questions, okay? All right, so a little bit about me. I'm Christopher Senegal. I've been an investor for about 12 years now. I started off in 2008, fix and flip. So I flipped a bunch of properties. I've owned a bunch of rentals. I sold all my rental properties. I didn't like it. I decided to move on to something that had, I would say, more purpose behind it, because there's a lot of people that flip houses. That's a very individual business. You're doing it for yourself. You're making money. You don't really have control over what happens after you sell the property. You don't have really control over who it sells to. But you fatten your own pockets and you can make a legacy for yourself that way, because you can build a business out of that, or you can use that income to leverage in other businesses and build other assets. But there's this narrative of gentrification that has been going on forever. We always talk about it and we always complain about it. But what I really noticed is there wasn't a lot of investors that were really taking the time to figure out how to solve it. We got builders, we got developers in our communities, but it's mainly a single player sport, where you're in it for yourself. So my goal since about 2012 was to figure out a way to make it more collective, where we could all work together. And so I was able to buy my first block of property in 2013. And that block of property was an old grocery store and some abandoned houses at that point in time. Well, they weren't abandoned. They were run down and they were inhabited by prostitutes and drug addicts, basically. That's when Fifth Ward was really the bloody fifth. And everybody thought I was crazy, but the property was right on the freeway. I could see downtown. It's eventually this is going to be worth something, because I was watching how redevelopment was kind of going counterclockwise around downtown. Long story short, 3 years later, the bet paid off. The biggest developer in Houston, who built City Center, bought 150 acres, less than a mile from our property in Fifth Ward. And they're building basically a city center ×2 and on the water. So it's going to be a phenomenal project. So that's going to just change the demographics. It's going to change the narrative of that neighborhood. The values are going to shoot up. It's going to be gentrified. So it's either we participate in it or we watch it happen again. And there's too much information out there. I'm too savvy, and my peers are too savvy, and I'm educating you guys to make sure you are too savvy to let that happen again. We have to participate in these processes. If we let our neighborhoods get to the point to where it's nothing but low income, all we do is focus on building more low income housing, we never bring higher incomes back to the neighborhood. So everybody that decided to do something with themselves and make it out of these communities have no options to go back. So they are ostracized to the suburbs. They can't afford downtown where the houses are $500,000, $600,000 when you have a corporate salary, right? So my goal was, let me build something that's equivalent to the price point in the suburbs. Let's bring these incomes back to our communities, right? And and when we bring the incomes back to our communities, not only do we give other examples for the kids in the neighborhood that are benefiting from the low income stuff, but we bring the demographics up. And as much as we want things like retail and restaurants and grocery stores in these neighborhoods, until the incomes are there, it's not going to happen, right? So my first project was focused on that. So I'm building the townhouses and I'm bringing that income back. So far, I've been very, I would say, blessed to have the idea come to fruition. All of my buyers are young Black working professionals that work downtown, the ones that bought units that are already built, as well as the people that have pre-purchased units that have not been built yet. So that's cool. So I got the high end, right? And a lot of people ask, so what happens to the people that are there? How do you look out for them? Well, this project that we're talking about today is how we look out for the other group. There's a lot of property in Fifth Ward and in all these neighborhoods that are owned by landlords that have tons of property. And most of these landlords have owned this property for 20, 30 years, 40 years, and they're ready to retire. So as a neighborhood is going through gentrification and those people get ready to retire, they're going to sell to somebody, right? And the biggest thing for us to do is to be in a position to buy that property from them so that the tenants that are there do not get displaced. Because if we let the developers and the investors buy all that property, the second they move in, they're going to, number one, at least raise the rents. And if there's a bunch of seniors in there on fixed incomes or single moms in there on fixed incomes, when those rents get raised, those people are gone. Okay? Once those people are gone, then other people move in, or the property is torn down and they build something else. And a lot of times these properties have good income. They have money flowing already. And this project right here is that exactly. It has good income. It has stable tenants. A lot of them have been there a long time, and there's no reason to tear it down. The added benefit of that is that it's got commercial frontage on it also. With the commercial frontage, that allows us to increase revenue by getting more commercial tenants in there. There's another building we can tear down and build more. So that's the summary. So I'm gonna walk through the presentation really quickly, then I'm gonna take questions, okay? So I'm calling this the Lyons Ave Renaissance, because Lyons Avenue was like the Black Wall Street of Fifth Ward. If you talk to anybody that was there, it used to be all Black businesses all up and down the street. Okay, gentrification. The simple definition is the process by which a place, especially part of a city, changes from being poorer area to a richer one, when people from a higher social class begin to move in. Usually, if no one advocates for the poorer residents, they all become displaced. That's the narrative that we're used to. But my mission here is to change that narrative, okay? So through redevelopment that balances the opportunity to attract the high-income people out of the suburbs while ensuring that the existing residents are not displaced, we create a new process, because everything's gonna be revitalized. Everything has a life cycle. Neighborhoods are no different. They're gonna be revitalized. And we can't just try to hold everything in a time capsule and protect a certain group, right? We have to be active. We have to be cognizant that if we don't participate, other people will do it with or without us. Okay, so this is how we rewrite the narrative. Number one, we purchase the existing property. If it's vacant, we tear it down and we build new. If it's occupied, we find a way to keep the tenants and modestly increase the rents if we increase the rents at all, okay? Number two, when we buy the properties that are rentable, we fill the vacancies. And then if it's not a rental, if it's gonna be for sale, we sell to the people from the community. And what we also do is we advocate for the long-term tenants to not have their taxes increased. I mean, not the tenants, the long-term residents that own their property. We advocate for them not to have their taxes increased, okay? So that solves all the complaints, the challenges that you usually get about gentrification. What happens to the people? This is a simple process. This is how we do it, all parts, okay? Number two. Okay, so now we'll go to number three. So then for the vacant land, when we're building new, we create real estate that will attract people that grew up in neighborhoods or similar neighborhoods that now have good incomes. And this makes the neighborhood more attractive. Like I said earlier, the demographics change, everything looks a lot better. After we get the residents in there and the incomes are higher, then we go commercial. This solves the puzzle we always talk about food deserts and grocery stores. You have to have the income to make the grocery store comfortable to move into the neighborhood. If you don't have that, no matter how much we talk, they don't care, okay? They want income. So we have to have the people in there with income. So we gotta have the working professionals back there. So the fourth step is when you develop the commercial stuff. All right, so this is our project here. This is the project I'm buying right now. This is a portfolio of 18 rental properties. They're all occupied, okay? And on the commercial side, there's a barbecue restaurant in one of the spaces. I'll show you the building in a second. There's an empty space on the side of it, but I already have somebody that's committed to that. There's a coffee shop that's called Through Good Coffee. They are actually in the Heights right now. It's Black owned. I've talked with the owner several times. He's got tremendous interest. He told me if I bought this, that he would help set up a shop there. So that's what we're gonna do. So now we're gonna have a barbecue restaurant. The barbecue restaurant also serves after-school meals to the local school district. So it's a Black-owned business that has a contract with the school district right now, okay? And if we don't buy that property, whoever else bought that property would probably tear that down and put this guy out of business because he would have nowhere else to run the shop out of, his business out of. And like I said, the upside potential is we have more available empty space to bring in more commercial. So, it's nice to tell a narrative, but most people want to know the numbers. The rental side of this property already brings in $140,000 a year. That means we don't have to do anything. We walk in, the day we close, we're making $140,000 a year off on revenue, okay? This is the breakdown. It's 6 2-bedroom, 1-baths, and then there's 12 1-bedroom, 1-baths. Most of the tenants have been there over a decade. They pay their own utilities. The maintenance guy is a resident, so we don't have to worry about that. And there's no major repairs needed. We don't have to go in here and do a lot of work. The properties are very well kept, okay? These are seniors that take care of their property. The property manager and the property owner takes very good care of the property, so we don't have a lot to do there, okay? I am gonna bring in a property management team to assist me with this side of the project. They're very seasoned. They've been in business for over 15 years. They have a commercial and residential background, so we have nothing to worry about there. By doing this, what we ensure these tenants of is that we know that it makes good money right now. We don't have to do anything. We're gonna leave it like it is. Now these seniors that see all of this redevelopment going on around them, who are scared that they're gonna have to be displaced, now will have peace of mind. They're worried about who the sellers are gonna sell to, who the new owner's gonna be, what's gonna happen to them. You know, we're gonna give them stability. Don't worry about it, we got you. We're here for you. We're buying this block to protect you. And at the same time, it's not charity, we're making money. That's the beautiful part about this, we're making money, okay? So like I said, the sellers are an African-American couple that bought this property from a Jewish doctor. So a little bit, I've said this before, I'll say it again. The narrative on most of our neighborhoods that we don't talk about. After our beloved leader, Dr. Martin Luther King, fought so hard for desegregation, I guess after the civil rights movement, a lot of our grandparents felt so compelled to take advantage of what was in place that they all moved out of the historically Black neighborhoods to go live in other neighborhoods that they fought so hard to be accepted in. And a lot of this stuff became abandoned. It was left blighted. And the investors of the US world are mainly the Jewish people. So the Jewish people were like, okay, real estate, abandon real estate, buy it really cheaply, eventually it's gonna go back up in value. So in a lot of the 60s and early 70s, a lot of Jewish investors came and bought up all these Black neighborhoods. So in the 90s, this Black couple came and bought this property back from the Jewish people. As a matter of fact, the block that I built on, I bought it directly from the heir of a Jewish investor that owned like 26 blocks in Fifth Ward. Okay, so now we're looking at the commercial side. Gotta move this box. So right now the commercial side only has one tenant. The tenant is in this building right here. That's the one, he's the guy with the barbecue shop, the barbecue restaurant. He's paying $1,300 a month in rent, which is very reasonable for a small business. You know, we may increase his rent a little bit as his business grows, but right now we're gonna leave it as it is. And then there's vacant space on the other side of the building, okay? So there's filling Paul, and there's other space. This is where the coffee shop is gonna be. By filling that space, we're gonna be able to bring in an extra $2,000 a month just from that. So that's an extra $24,000 a year just by filling that vacancy. You know, and the tenant's gonna come in, they're gonna cover the expense of doing their own build out. So the beauty of commercial rental property is you're not responsible for utilities, you're not responsible for build out, you're not responsible for repairs. The tenant has to cover all their own stuff. On top of that, they contribute to your taxes and your insurance, unlike residential rental property, okay? So the majority of that $2,000 a month is gonna go straight to the bottom line, straight towards the profit that everybody's gonna realize. The building on the right is this tan building, which is a regular house. We're actually gonna tear that down. And my goal is to build at least 5,000 square feet of commercial space, which is gonna be a mix of office and maybe a little retail. Office space for sure. We may have a couple specific businesses, something maybe in the cosmetology industry, the chiropractor type, medical type, something that's not really dependent on retail business. We're gonna put something stable over there so it's not speculative where if we put something in there, they don't last, they fall, they go under, and then the revenue goes away, right? So we wanna put a business in there that's gonna be stable, that's not really dependent on the local clientele solely, to make money on the retail side. Coffee shop will be fine. There's tons of business in the area. Everything's turning around over there. There's tons of business people that are in there for the construction meetings, for the development meetings, the civic people, the politicians. This gives them somewhere to come because there's nowhere in Fifth Ward right now to have breakfast, to have coffee. So we know that's going to be stable, right? So between these two incomes, that's additional $7,000 a month. 7 times 12, it's 84 last time I checked. So it's $84,000 in additional revenue we're going to bring in just on the commercial side without having to touch the tenants in the back. Okay, so we're going to take this thing from about $150,000 a year in revenue up to $240,000 a year in revenue. Okay, so here's a little view of the inside of the commercial tenant. The barbecue shop is very nice, very clean. You know, it's very impressive. And then this is the coffee shop. This is the other location that he has over in the Heights. Okay, so like I said, he has interest. He's coming to the neighborhood. He's coming to the neighborhood regardless, and he's looking for a space. And he told me, Chris, if you open this, I'm coming there. So we already got that secured. It's just going to be a matter of you know, getting the negotiations done whenever we get the space open. Okay, so let's talk about the expenses. So property taxes, $1,100 a month. Maintenance is very low, like I said, because they kept the property up very well. They've invested a lot in upgrading things. So sewer has all been replaced. The place has just been blacktop. The roofs are decent. We got about 20 years left before we have to replace roofs. Most of the units have window units. Most of the houses have window units, which is great. When you're dealing with rental property, you don't want central AC systems because those are a lot more expensive to maintain. Window units, something goes out, you go to Lowe's, spend $300, get a new window unit. Easy, okay? Insurance, about $850 per month. Management fees, that's everything included. We're looking at about $2,500 per month. Utilities, there's not much out there. We got a camera system. We have a few lights out there. Everything else is tenant responsibility, so we don't have a lot of expense there, okay? And then again, repairs, about $850 a month, and that's just little small things. That's on average for the past couple of months on the property. So we're looking at a total of $5,870 ballpark of what we're going to be spending every month to maintain it. And like I said, as is, it's bringing in $13,000 a month, right? So from, like I said, from day one, you walk in with real profit. Okay, so after we get that done, then we're going to focus on tearing that other building down, like I said earlier, building something new there. 5,000 square feet is conservative. We probably can go more, but once again, I'm being conservative on everything that I'm presenting to you guys because I don't want anybody to feel like I oversold anything. What I would rather do is under promise and over deliver, because you know, a lot of times people oversell things, especially investors or people that are asking for money. You know, and that's not my focus at all. This is something that I'm buying with or without the investment from everybody that's on here. This is just an opportunity where I feel like it made sense for me to bring on outside investors because it already has cash flow. On my development projects, it takes me years to really make a good return. And I prefer not to take people's money and have to wait, have them all waiting for years before they can make money. Okay, what's even better about this property is there's other vacant property right around the commercial frontage. So this is future acquisition opportunities right here so that we can basically have this whole corner, okay? So I'm already in negotiations with these guys. I've already reached out to them and trying to make contact with them to be able to buy that. And we can expand the commercial frontage, which will increase the revenue even more. All right, so where are we? Where are we located? So if you look at the star on this map, this red area is that brand new city center project that I was telling you about, twice the size of city center, okay? And it's on Buffalo Bayou. Buffalo Bayou runs on the south border of it. If you look at this radius map, it shows 0.75 miles and 1 mile, and we're a lot closer to 0.75 miles than we are to 1 mile. So we're less than a mile away from this project. And you see how close we are to downtown. Downtown is literally right here. This is the Astros stadium right here. The Rockets are right over here. Dynamo Stadium's right here. We're right by everything. So, I mean, property value is gonna shoot up over here. And when you buy shares in this project, you own a piece of that real estate. So as this value goes up, your share value goes up. This is literally what's gonna be there. Okay, this is not speculative. These buildings are they're already pre-leasing these buildings. Okay, so this is gonna be here by 2023. Okay. So here's the information, you know, on the offer itself. So from you guys, I can raise up to $1,070,000. Okay. The acquisition price, we're going to put about $700,000 towards the acquisition and immediate upgrades to the commercial space, like to tear down another building and start plans for other stuff. The rest of the million will go, $25,000 will go into a repair reserve, and then $345,000 will be set aside to build a new commercial building. So that's going to increase the value, okay? So when we do all that, I'm saying 7 years, 1 to 2 years, I'm being very conservative. It'll be worth 2.9 million. My purchase price for this property, total purchase price is 1.25 million. Okay, that's what I'm buying this for. So even at the revenue that it has right now, it's a good buy, right? Because it's bringing in 156 to be exact, $156 as is, and I'm buying it for 1.2. Now, here's the great part. I've owner financed half of it. So all I have to bring to closing is $600,000. Then I have 2 years to bring the other $650,000 to the sellers with no payments in the middle. I'm not making monthly mortgage payments, okay? So that means we got 600 up front, then we have 300 or 400 to play with, plus the profits every month to play with to reinvest into the project, okay? So the first thing I'm doing with the profits, I'm taking 40% of the profits and I'm dividing it up amongst all the shareholders. And that's gonna go out biannually as a dividend. What that equates to right now is about $32,000, okay? $32,000 that'll be divided up amongst about 20,000 shareholders. So off your $50 share, you're gonna be making $1.50 up to about $3 as I increase the rents per share. So that's 3 to 5%, okay? That's a good dividend. That's also the same rate that you would get if you had a rental property yourself, because you pay $120,000 for a house, it's making $400 a month in a rental profit for you. That's $4,800 a year. That's a 4% return. And I'm saying your dividend return is going to be between 3 and 5%. Same micro investment. It's like a micro version of that investment. Plus, it's like you hitting the lottery on buying a rental property in the right market, because this property value is going to shoot up because of everything I've already showed you. Okay, so that's the presentation in a nutshell. I think I talked a little longer than I planned to. Yeah, I've been talking for 20 minutes, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm going to open it up now for questions. Let me get out of this. Let me see. Okay, let's see. Okay, if you have a question, you can unmute your line and ask the question now. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry.
It's unmuted now.
Yeah, it's unmuted. I gotta turn my sound. I had my speaker turned down. I'm sorry. Okay. Did everybody hear everything clearly?
I mean, I did. I might miss a little bit because I got a little later, but I heard what you were saying though.
Okay. So what's up, Angel? Go ahead. Okay. What's your question, bro?
This is Angel, by the way. Yeah, this is Angel.
Okay. What's your question?
No, I was just letting you know. I had missed a little bit in the beginning, but I heard, some of what you said. It wasn't so much as a question. It just it makes sense. That's what I'm saying. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the solution to the problem that we've all talked about. We all talk about gentrification, how we buy back our own blocks. And it's hard for one person to do it individually, right?
Exactly.
But what I'm doing is setting the model. I'm setting the tone. I'm like, we can collectively invest, and we don't even have to invest a lot, but we can save block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, and we can make money in the process. We can profit and not feel guilty about it at all, because we're making money. The areas are going to gentrify. It's just going to happen regardless, but we can participate in the process now. This is the solution to the challenge that we've always been complaining about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Appreciate that, brother. Anybody else got a question?
Hey, this is Odelia. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Odelia.
My only question was, are there any tax liabilities for shareholders?
No, the taxes, if you saw the tax houses, they're a line item expense. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, on your profits. Yeah, you will have. It's like owning a stock. It's like owning any other investment. So yeah, you will be taxed at your tax bracket on your investment. It's going to be different for everybody. It's based on your income.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you will not be taxed on the increase in the share value until you sell your shares, but you will be taxed on the dividends.
Okay.
Even though it's passed through like a disbursement, you still get taxed on it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it's your individual investment, and
Oh, okay. So it gets the shareholders get taxed individually too.
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's more like a C corp kind of way then.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I follow you. All right.
Hey, Chris, this is Manuel. First off, great job, great presentation. This is very powerful content and a great opportunity. I have a question about, so are you financing this all through just the public, or are you going through a bank, or what's the split, I guess, between
Okay, so
public financing and
the beautiful thing about everything that I've been doing creative financing. I have not had to use a bank for my initial acquisitions at all. The beautiful thing about most of these neighborhoods is it's been in the family for a very long time, so they own it. There's no debt on it. So, so this second block I'm buying is the same way. This family, the couple that owns it, they own it free and clear. So they have the ability to become creative to help me take over. Now they were asking originally 1.5 million for it, but the challenge that they have is that they're very old school. They had no accountant tracking things. They just had money orders. They literally have Xerox copies of money orders that they deposited every month for the past few years. And that's what I had to go through. So nobody that has $1.5 million through a bank is gonna buy something based off of that, right? So for me, that gives me the opportunity to say, look, I know I know what value you want. I can't pay you that, but I can pay you 1.25 for it. And if you work with me, I'll get that whole 1.25 to you within 2.5 years. So that gives me time to come in and buy it. I'm buying it for $600,000 right now. That gives me 2 years to get the rent up, to get the revenue up really high, where I increase the value of the property well over $2 million. And by that time, it makes a whole lot of sense to just pay them another $650. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah. So
I gotta definitely get up with you another time, man, because I got a few things that you're so on point with that. Like I said, me and a few of my people been working on this angle as well, doing things. So it'd be definitely good to get up with you and really trade some more thoughts.
But you know,
I know we could.
That's a good point, Angel, because like what I'm gonna do is like everybody that invests in this, you will have access to me. Like this is not just about me selling you a pitch and then you walk away. You're gonna be involved in this whole process. You're gonna be learning as we go. As I'm dealing with tenants, you know, as we're getting the commercial leases done, as we're making the plans to redevelop the other building, everybody that's an investor will have full exposure to that. There will be monthly updates that go out telling you all these details. And if you have a project you want to work on, you know, you'll have access to it. So this is really about collective learning. This is like a learn and earn program where everybody can really benefit from it, because I can't do all this by myself. I can't do this across the country by myself. I just want to set the blueprint. Like I just get very frustrated debating with people about these things when I know there's a solution and I'm creating it. So I'm taking away all the excuses. It's like, no, you can't tell me anything because I'm doing it. And then that'll help other people be in a position to do it as well. So yeah, but the original question was, am I financing it by myself? Yes. So I have some capital of my own, and I also have private investors where if I didn't do this crowdfund, I had 2 different investors that saw the value in it. They were both willing to put up the entire $600,000 themselves.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm doing first is I'm saying, well, let me push this out to everybody. Everybody's always asking me for an opportunity to invest. And this is the one that makes the perfect sense, makes the most sense, because I don't have to create the value. The value is already there. And I can sell it in small increments to everybody, and it lets people of all income levels have an opportunity to actually say they've done something substantive, you know, and bought into something substantive.
Okay. And then one follow-up question: are you looking to then sell this in about 2 to 3 years? Or are you looking to
No,
you kind of hold on?
I will not be selling this one, because I know the second I sell it, it's going to go into the wrong hands. This is one. Now, what I will be doing for shareholders, though, because shareholders, when you buy into something, you eventually want a profit. So once a year, every year, I will be doing buybacks of shares. So the initial share you bought at $50 a share. As the property value increases, that share may be worth $52 next year, maybe worth $55 in 2 years. Every year, I'm going to buy it back at that market rate. So you can cash in on your profit if you want to. But then you miss out on all the future upside of it, right?
Right.
So, what I'm projecting is a good 7-year run, and anybody that wants to stay in after that can stay in. But then what I'll do at that point is really refinance it and buy back as many of the shares as people were ready to cash in on. But yeah, so that's the model for that. And like I said, your dividends will go up little by little as I bring more revenue in on the rental side.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yes, sir.
The question is, Do you have a board, a committee, or are you making all decisions that has to be made about this program?
Right now, it is me making the decisions because I've tried to put a board together and I keep getting that same old narrative. You know, people are just so, I don't want to say scared, but so trapped in the mindset of we can't control this and we can't do it, that it's been hard for me to give up that decision-making process to anybody else. I will have to have a board for this because I will be doing other projects too. But yeah, the goal is really to get it off the ground, to set the tone, to prove the model can work, and then bring in a board. Because you put a board together, people that have experience and expertise in different areas. And I feel like this is something that I'm kind of navigating, I'm kind of pioneering. And so I don't want to give up too much of that control until I get it to the point where I feel like it makes sense. So not now, but in a couple of years, yes. All right, anybody's got a question?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to see what your idea of the biggest challenge will be for this property. It sounds like a lot of things are good, the cash flow and everything else, but what do you think the biggest challenge is?
The biggest challenge is going to be bringing in a new income. Doing the commercial space, identifying what we can do with the footprint that we have for that other side. We're going to have limitations on parking. We have limitations on how we're going to impede the traffic, our setbacks from the street. So the biggest challenge will be maximizing the small commercial space that we have to build new, and how best to change the aesthetic of the existing commercial. Like I said, the tenants in the back, that's very stable. We got a good baseline. We won't have any issues there. And like I said, the beauty of this is once we close, we don't have to pay any debt off for 2 years. So that gives us a lot of flexibility. So if something happens where the income does go down for a couple months, we're fine because we don't have any debt service to cover. And so there's no threat of foreclosure. There's no threat of any of those things. Outside of that, man, I gotta be honest. I gotta say this, it's an investment. Everything's an investment. I cannot guarantee anything. That's technically illegal to guarantee anything, but I feel pretty confident that this is a pretty stable investment.
Cool. And do you have a prospectus posted anywhere? I didn't look too into it. I just got on the call last minute.
Yeah, all the documents that are SEC required are on the campaign site. It's on the buytheblock.com. So you can go through there and look at all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
All right, anybody else got a question?
Yeah, I have one question. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just know, Chris, a time when we met, can you hear me? I'm going to a bad area.
Oh, yeah, man, I tell you what, when we get off, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, and we can line all that up. Okay.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah. I heard two people, Elizabeth, and then I heard Jeanette. Okay, Elizabeth, go first, now Jeanette, you go next. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I was going to let you know that, first of all, thank you for doing this call, but also look in the chat. Like there's a chat part where people are being able to message.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there's questions and dialogue in that as well, too, that we'd like you to address as well, please.
Okay, let me go over there. Let me go to the chat. Okay. All right, guys, so hold off on the questions for a second. I'm answering these chat questions. Let's see. So for $250 will give us a dividend of $6 per year. Yeah, starting out, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, like $1.50 per share. And like I said, this ain't you're not buying Amazon, you're not buying Uber. The thing about those businesses is they really don't have a business. They're selling service that's not really there. And so they have these valuations and you have these big dividends, but you're not really buying an asset itself. You're buying intellectual property. You're buying actual real estate here. So that's where the real money is in this, okay? You're buying real estate that's gonna appreciate in value. There's no doubt about it. It's not going down. It's less than half from the biggest mixed-use development in Houston. It's right by downtown. So don't focus on the dividends. Dividends are like the icing on the cake. You are now becoming a real estate property owner. That's where the money is. Okay, I have missed 10 foot. What's the anticipated property value in 2 to 3 years? Okay, conservatively, in any market in Houston, let me give you an example. Spring Branch is the neighborhood north of I-10 where City Center. Okay, so City Center is on the west side of Houston. Spring Branch used to be a very impoverished, low-income Hispanic area. Okay, back then you could buy lots for $30,000, $40,000, houses for $100,000, $120,000. Now that same Spring Branch area, since City Center has been built, you cannot buy a lot over there for less than $150,000. You cannot buy a house over there for less than $350,000. When you look at the proximity of Spring Branch to City Center, it's the exact same as Fifth Ward to the new City Center project, to the new Midway project, which is called East River. So property values are going to shoot up. So when I say 20, 30%, that's very conservative. That's very conservative, very practical over the next 2 to 3 years. It could double, but I'm not going to speculate. Like I said, I'd rather underpromise and overdeliver. Okay, I believe we said 50,000 investment. No, so it's an annual. It's an annual return. Like I said, you're only going to get 3 to 5% annually. The same return you would get off of a rental. Like I said, this is just like winning a rental property lottery where you're making your $5,000 a year off of your $120,000 investment, and all of a sudden the property value goes up to $180,000. That's the big one in this. Again, I don't want your guys focused on a dividend. This is not a dividend play. This is not a this is a decent cash flow play, but this is the real wealth in real estate is built in the land and the appreciation. Okay, that's the part that a lot of people miss. That's what the real. That's what is built. Okay, so I think I answered those questions, Elizabeth. I think they kind of answered it.
Hey, Chris, this is Janelle.
Janelle,
can you kind of explain what you expect the communication to be going forward? So if you build these shareholders, is there going to be some quarterly communication? Is it going to be annual? What's your vision of how that will work?
Monthly. There's going to be monthly communication. And of course, you guys know I'm huge on social media, so I will be constantly updating everything on social media. But formal communications going out will be monthly about specifically like what progress we made, where we are with the planning and design, what the next steps are, where we are with the occupancy. I'll be sending that out monthly. I'll be talking about the challenges that we're having. I really want to do at least a quarterly call like this where everybody hops on and we can talk about what happened in the last quarter. People can ask questions. This is for you to understand how your investment is doing, as well as for you to learn, how to do the development side, what it takes to really be a property manager and get more tenant issues. Just giving you the full gamut of what this real estate requires. Tons of communication. And annually, we'll do the actual financials. The CPA certified financials will go out once a year. All shareholders.
Hi, Chris. My name is Draval. Thank you for this opportunity. I had a question about, you mentioned a new property manager. Will you expect their rates or their charges to increase or be higher than the current property manager, and therefore rents would have to go up?
No, I've included that in there. So right now, the property is self-managed by the owners. So that $2,500 I put in there is to cover the property management itself. And, a lot of property managers, they will mark up, like if they have to manage repairs, all that kind of stuff. They'll mark up 5-10%. Okay, somebody needs to mute their phone. If you haven't muted your phone, please mute your phone. If not, I'm going to have to mute it. Okay, muted all phones. There we go. Okay. So the property management is already included. It's already built in. I'm hoping that it's a lot lower than $2,500, but I put that in there conservatively to make sure we have enough to cover it. Most property managers charge about 10% of the rent. So at 150, we're looking at about $1,500 a month, right? So I put $2,500 in there to make sure we're safe.
Chris, I have a question.
Sure.
What do we as investors have to know that our money is protected, that you wouldn't, that or someone wouldn't just take the money and run?
Okay, for one, when you invest through this third-party platform, I'm not affiliated with buytheblock.com. That's a third-party website. They are SEC regulated, okay? I had to apply and be approved through them to put this project on that platform. You guys are investing right now, I don't get any of that money. That money is sitting. And then once I close and there's a distribution plan for the money, that's when the money is released, okay? The money is going directly towards acquiring the property, right? And number one, I'm under SEC scrutiny. If y'all don't know what that is, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's like the feds for the financial industry. They are the ones that monitor this whole process. So this is not some other funds where you're just giving money and then they're not paying you their returns like they should, okay? We're buying something that already has cash flow, already has money. And I'm not doing this for personal reasons. Like I said, I got the money to close on this personally. This is more so to give other people the opportunity to invest. What I would highly suggest, I don't want anybody investing anything more than they're comfortable. Don't invest any money that you feel like you need. Don't invest any money that's going to make you feel like you can't sleep at night. I want you to be comfortable with this investment. I want you to stay in it for a year or two. And when we do buybacks every year, that'll be opportunity for you to buy more shares at that point in time if you want to. So don't overextend where you're concerned about if somebody's gonna run off with your money. Do not do that. Invest conservatively and then reinvest later as you see that you're comfortable with the process and how the company's running.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Anybody else have a question? Okay, so I got a good question over here on Instagram Live. It says, in terms of gentrification and history of ownership, how can you prevent being capitalistic while gaining back ownership of the community-based assets? So Fred, I answered that question in the very beginning. There's a lot of things that already have good cash flow over there where we don't really have to increase the revenue. There's a certain point in capitalism where it just turns into greed, where I feel like that's a lot that's taught in the real estate investing industry. It's like, get in, maximize the rents, maximize the rents, maximize the rents.
I mean,
you don't have to do that all the time.
The church, so he's just another guy that we don't know.
Sorry, guys. Okay, everybody's muted. Okay, so yeah, so my goal with this is I'm literally setting the blueprint for that right now, Fred, because we are taking something that already has good cash flow and we're making an upside potential all on the commercial side so that we do not have to increase the rents of the residents. Now, here's the caveat to that. As these tenants move on, since they're all seniors, we know eventually something's gonna happen. They're gonna transition either to a more on-hand care facility or they're gonna pass. At that point, when we have that property and there's nobody in it, that we can go and do renovations and we can upgrade the property a little bit and then we can increase the rents. That's fine. We can keep it as it is, or we can turn it into Airbnb. We can do whatever we want at that point. But what we're doing is we're preserving the rest of the lifespan of that person where they are not displaced. That's our end goal. That's our most important goal, okay? But then there's upside potential after that. That's the long-term play. All right, anybody else got questions?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the structure of the property. Do you ever plan to spin off the commercial side of that and just do one entity commercial and another residential?
Nah, I don't want to separate them because I don't want to have the separate cash flow and a separate balance sheets. I like the fact that the residential carries the project, you know, and when you have that, I mean, and that's how most mixed-use developments are. When you're doing something that's even slightly speculative in a neighborhood that's gentrifying and you aren't really certain about what's going to happen with the commercial space, you usually count that commercial revenue as zero. And you base your case for your justification for your project and your debt service specifically off of the residential. And that's what we're doing here. I'm saying the residential is solid. These are long-term tenants. Some of them have been there over 25 years. So it makes no sense for me to separate those two and just specifically focus on the businesses separately in a separate entity. So I'm keeping it all collected.
Okay, so when you do redevelop the commercial, you're saying you're gonna try to offset with the residential, or you're gonna try to roll the property management costs into triple net leases on the commercial side once that's up and running?
Definitely, because we're building Class A, so we can demand top dollar for the per square foot cost of that rental space on the commercial side. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so we'll be good there.
Cool.
Hi, Chris.
This
is Asha McDowell. I'm a real estate agent in California for over 20 years.
Okay.
And my primary area is actually Oakland, where, of course, gentrification is running rapid.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know, is the Lyons Avenue project your first project of this size?
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you have any type of contingency plans in place. I do recall, I think you mentioned that your numbers that you presented have been pretty conservative.
Yes, very good, very conservative. Right now, Asha, if the easiest exit strategy for this is for me to just do CPA certified accounting for the next 2 years, and if we don't increase a penny in revenue, then we're going to have a balance sheet that shows $156,000 a year, and we're going to show a net of about $90,000 a year, right? So as is, if it's net $90,000 at an 8% cap rate, we've made our $1.3 million back if we sell it as is, okay? Now, if we increase that and we build some Class A, then we go to cap rate of about 6.5 with that additional revenue from the commercial. Now we got a property worth $2 million as is, $2 million or more as is. So it's very conservative. It's not a lot of speculation here at all.
Thank you. Sounds good.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have a quick question. This is Kevin from Atlanta. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kev. What's going on?
Ain't much. So, is this like your number one priority as of right now, or are you doing other projects at the same time?
I have a project that's 5 blocks from here where I'm doing 14 townhomes right now. Built 3 of them, they're complete. And I'm getting ready to start the next phase. I'm building 3 or 4 more at a time. And I've got a couple of them sold. So I'm acting as a developer on that project. I have a builder that builds 300 to 400 houses a year, mainly for community development corporations. So it doesn't require me to be hands-on. My builder has a superintendent out there on the site. I'm out there making decisions, but it's, like I said, 5 minutes max, usually 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes from project to project. So these are my focus. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of day-to-day hands-on that's required for this property because, like I said, it's already fully occupied. Property manager will handle most of that. My biggest thing is making decisions on how we maximize the use of the commercial space. So I'm big on creating passive investments. I'm big on things that can kind of work on autopilot. I'm not the person that likes to take everything in-house and try to juggle everything myself. I believe in letting the experts be the experts and letting them do what they do, and we make decisions. We put the money in and we make the decisions and let them run with the decisions that we make. So yeah, I have plenty of bandwidth to handle both of these projects.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Understood.
Yeah. Anybody else?
How did you get started?
Oh, long story. Okay, so 2008, I went to school for civil engineering. When I graduated from high school, I didn't know what I wanted to college for, but there was a full scholarship at Southern University for civil engineering. And it was, like I said, full tuition paid, internships every summer, guaranteed job when I graduate, and I was working for the railroad. So that's what I did. I got out, I was making, as 22, I was making like $67,000 a year, bought a house at 22 in Memphis. Thought I was living the dream, and I got on the job, and I looked at my boss, I looked at my boss's boss, and they were making $100,000, $120,000, and they were miserable. And I was like, I didn't like the hours. I was like, the salary stuff is overrated because the more hours you work, the less you make. I was like, man, I've been sold the dream. It's like be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. Engineer took the shortest amount of time. I'm gonna be an engineer. Hated it. So immediately I started reading books. I started getting into trading, like options and futures, and that was very unstable. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. When I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that kind of changed everything. So since 2008, I got into flipping. I moved to Houston. Couldn't sell the house I had in Memphis. Ended up having to rent it out. And my mortgage was like $1,100 a month. I rented out for $1,500 a month with a property manager managing it. So I'm making $400 a month in cash flow without doing anything. So that just kind of solidified it for me. I was like, yeah, real estate is the ticket. So that's how I got started. I flipped houses for several years. Like I said, I had rental properties. In 2015, I had the opportunity to buy that first block that I bought that I'm building the townhomes on now. And so since then, it's just been growth and trying to figure out how I can do and scale and do bigger things. And, I think Barack Obama, when he was in office, implemented this new crowdfunding platform where everybody can invest. Because before you had to be an accredited investor. You got to be worth over $1 million, got to have like $250 in the bank. So we were never able to be a part of these opportunities. And I always wanted to find a project where we could actually do this. And I've been in communication with the lady who founded buytheblock.com, Lynn, for over a year, trying to figure out the right project. And this project finally made sense. And so, that's the quick and dirty story of how I got here. I've owned other businesses in between, hair salons, restaurants, but I gravitate back to real estate because I like the returns. I like the control of the project. I have a better control of what the income is on the back end. And so this is just my passion. Yep. Anybody else?
Hey, Chris, I got a question. This is Kendall.
Yep.
So I heard you say in 2012 that you sold your rental properties, and now it's kind of like upscaling, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, and especially us, we're exposed to rental properties. We're exposed to single family rentals, and we're told that's the way to build wealth. Keep buying single families, keep buying single families. But eventually you run out of leverage. Like the bank is only going to give you so many loans. And when you're only making $300, $400 per house, when you have one or two big repairs on one house that costs you $10,000, or you have a couple months at one or two properties where you got to pay the mortgage payment, that greatly impacts your income. And so, what I realized is like, there's a better way. Even if I just sold all my rentals and I flipped houses for 2 or 3 years and I saved all that money and I had $400,000 or $500,000 sitting aside, I can turn around and go buy a 50, 60 unit apartment building with that money as a down payment versus continuing trying to buy single families over and over and over. Or I could buy commercial, and so that's what I did here. With my development, I stopped flipping. I was like, let me invest all this money in this property and let me build this whole block. Because when I build this whole block, the money that I missed by flipping over the 2.5 years that I'm missing while I'm putting this development together, I'm gonna make it right back as soon as I sell all those houses. So for me, it was just like, how do you scale up? How do you do bigger things? And so that's what I did. When I bought that block, I sold all my rental properties because I didn't want to have to deal with stuff all over the city. So just a different mindset.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, will you have a replay of the information you shared this evening? It's been really good and beneficial, but I know some people weren't able to catch.
Yes, it's recorded. Everything's recorded, and I will upload it to YouTube, and there'll be a link available for everybody to replay it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Hey, Chris, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know, once you're done with the project that you have going on, are you slowly going to focus on this one and expanding going on into the future, or are you going to start another project without the crowd fund?
Yeah, I'll be starting more projects. I actually have a bunch of people so here, the one thing I didn't mention is like with the crowd fund, your limit to invest is $10,000. But I have a bunch of people that have way more money, 50 grand, 60 grand, 100 grand, that they want to invest. So I'm going to create other projects where I can pool that capital to do bigger things. There will be other projects going on as well. This is really just a blueprint. Like I said, this one is one that it made perfect sense to use it as the model. And then, we tweak it as we go, but we reach the end goal that we want. And then we build more and we expand and we do it in different markets, different cities. Not only does this apply to Black neighborhoods, but this applies to the neighborhoods around HBCUs. This is a model that can be duplicated in several different applications that I want to be able to bring to the communities across the country and train other developers to do the same, other investors that want to become developers, teach them how to do it. So this is just the beginning of something that I hope is huge.
Okay, thank you for that. And I do have just another quick question.
Mm-hmm.
The experts that you'll be bringing in, are you going to introduce us to them so we get to know them, or
everybody will meet the whole team? Definitely, that's definitely a top priority.
Okay, and then just one last question. Can you just talk about the shareholder rights that I guess we will have?
Yeah, so it's very limited. This is like a passive investment, you know. So hold on, guys. This one is okay. Live ended. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm starting to live over. Okay. All right. So yeah, so it's very limited rights. Like I said, this is not like the stock market where you have a lot of liquidity. So you know, you will be able to sell your shares back once a year. Once a year, you will have full exposure to the financials of the project. But again, this is a passive investment where you like minority stakeholders in it, where the majority of decisions are made by me as the primary and the rest of my team. And that's not so much for selfish reasons. That's just really to protect the other shareholders, because we have a lot of people that are in here that are novice. This is their first project, and we don't want them having the ability to make decisions that can negatively affect the whole project just because they don't understand the process of what's going on. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Hey, Chris, I know you said not to focus on the dividends, but I just wanted a clarification on what you said earlier and some of the comments that were made in the chat.
Okay.
Are you saying that it's a projected 3 to 5% per share annually?
Correct.
Or is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
That is correct. Okay.
And is that, sorry, Chris, quick question. Is that after net expenses of 3 to 5%, or is that before?
That's net. That's net. That's me saying after all the expenses, I basically did the calculations already. And I said, I'm giving 40% of the net profits to these 21,000 shares. It equals about between $1.50 to $3 per share. And that's 3 to 5% per share. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So like I said, I'm under promising and over delivering. If I can get it where the expenses are lower, then the dividends will be higher. But I don't want to promise that, right? And if I get the incomes higher than what I'm projecting, then the dividends will be bigger because it's 40% of the net profit. But I'm just giving conservative numbers right now so that everybody can have a base case of what to expect.
That makes sense. Hi, Chris. I have a question.
Sure.
So if a person invests with you at any level, and earlier you said something about, I know you're going to pay out the dividends once a year. So let's say somebody invests with you, and maybe in 8 months they want to sell. Can they only sell at that one time per year when you're paying the dividends?
That's it. You can only do it one time. So like I said, I don't want anybody investing any money that they feel like they're going to need over the next 11 and a half months, because it doesn't work like that. It cannot work like that for accounting purposes. It's not fair to anybody else in the picture. We can't do that. So we're going to set it where it's once a year. If you want to sell your shares back, you can, and we'll have people waiting to buy them from you. And the other ones I'll take back and just keep my personally. But yes, it's going to be once a year for now. Now, who knows if the demand is so high that I got people that continually want to buy in, maybe I'll increase it to twice a year. I don't know. But right now I'm saying conservatively once a year is what I can tell you is going to be the standard.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you. Do you know what that time frame will be? So like right now, it's December, and a person invests in March or February, right? Would it be the next 12 months after February, or is it a set month?
That is a great question. Okay, so we're gonna close the fund at June 30th. The campaign will be closed at that point in time. So the first annual cycle will be the following June, if it takes until June to reach the maximum. If we reach the maximum before that, say it happens in April, then April will be the time that the annual clock starts. So it's either June 30th or when the fund reaches the maximum $1 million raise.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question.
No, I guess just piggybacking off of that, will the dividends, I guess since they will be biannually, will they start 6 months after you close the date, or is it going to be on the calendar year?
What I'm most likely going to do is do a proration on that, since I am closing on the property in February. Once I will start the dividends probably at the fund close date. I give a partial dividend, and then we'll start the cycle after that.
Copy. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
And just to be clear, the minimum starts at 250 and goes up to 10,000, right?
That is correct. Yes. 5 shares up to 200 shares. Correct. Now, the only way you can buy more is if you can prove that you're accredited, and then you can buy with $25,000 worth. But I think that, you know, it's like the net worth of $1,250,000 in the bank, and you can buy with $25,000 worth. But for everybody else, it's 10,000 is the max.
And when you say accredited, you're saying that you have proof of funds for the $1 million in the bank.
Correct. Yeah. I think it's net worth of $1 million.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. Okay. Anybody else?
I got a question, Chris. Kelly again.
Mm-hmm.
As of like right now, I only follow you just on Instagram. Let's just say I be an investor. Is there an easier way to get in contact with you, or is that just always going to be the way that we could get in contact, or is there like an inner circle once you get in there?
What I'm probably going to do, that's a good question. I'm probably going to start like I'm going to use probably a Facebook group, but I'm going to probably try to create something that's not housed on a main social media platform so that we can control the communication. So I'll be working on that once we close. But yeah, so it'll be Instagram, it'll be a private Facebook group. And then, yeah, I'll be probably creating our own app or something where we can communicate freely amongst each other.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Yes, shares are still available. Like I said, we raised the maximum share to the maximum allowed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is $1,070,000. So we're going to keep raising money until we get as close to that as possible, or the time runs out, which is June 30th. If you have questions after the Zoom ends, yes, please, you can still submit them to me. The best way is just send me a DM on Instagram. That'll be the easiest way because I check that thoroughly. I have a lot of emails that come through, so I may lose them in the email, but the Instagram DM is probably the best way. Or under one of the posts is the best way. Any other questions?
Kel again. Not really a question, but I just want to say thanks, man. I kind of invest here and there. I've been mainly like, as of right now, I've been kind of investing on Cash App with little stocks because I'm kind of new to it, but I do like long-term money. So I just want to say thanks, and I'm probably going to be harassing you because I'm probably just need more information about all this stuff because I know nothing about it, but I really want to get into it. So just want to say thanks, if anything.
No problem, bro. I mean, that's what I'm here for, man. I want to get as many people involved in this. It's something that's kind of lacking in our community. So, yeah.
I want to piggyback off of him. Same here. I started with how you said option trade. I do that and there. It's a gamble, seriously.
It is a gamble.
So I just stopped for a little while. I did that off Robinhood. I have little stocks in Ford and stuff, Kohl's. But I also did Nextseed. Nextseed does once a month, and I noticed you do biannually. So I just wonder, why do you do biannually instead of once a month?
Just for accounting. I mean, because when you're dealing with something this big, that's going to add to our expenses, right? So if I have an accountant that's managing this actively every single month, and we're sending out payments every single month, you know, that's going to add a lot to operating expenses, to everything. And to keep it clean, where we can focus on building up the revenue and focused on repositioning the property, basically, by upgrading and stuff. I just want to focus on that right now. So you're not missing any money. It's just not coming every month. You know?
Okay. Yeah, I'm perfectly. But I really appreciate it. Literally, I would say find you because I was on Instagram. And I would say 5 minutes before you started the call. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know. Crazy how that. But
that's crazy.
Everything happened for a reason. So I'm glad you know, to meet you. I'm in Dallas, but I'm always out there in Houston traveling and stuff. I'm young. I'm 23, but hopefully I get to meet you one day.
Definitely, man. You're way ahead of the curve. So that's what's up.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, cool. Anybody else got anything? All right, if not, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Like I said, the Instagram live, I don't think the first one saved, but luckily I got the Zoom call, so the Zoom will be saved. I'm gonna put it in the YouTube link, and it'll be available for everybody for replay. So I appreciate everyone getting on. Hopefully I answered all your questions. Again, if you want to get in, you go to my bio and click the top link. It's Buy the Block with Me. You click on that, and it'll bring you straight to the campaign. And you can read more details there. You know, there's all of the things we had to file with the SEC are on there. The pitch deck that I presented tonight is on there. And then at the bottom, it has all the different investment levels you can buy in at. So hopefully you guys got all of your questions answered tonight. And I will see you guys on the other side. Thanks.